Hey everyone, welcome to the Lake Michigan Angler Podcast. I'm Rob, this is Michael, and today we are here with Dave Johnson, one of our best customers, favorite customers.
Damn, Rob, that's what hell of a lead in.
Well, tell me how you really feel.
Dave, welcome. He's quickly become quite the angler, and it's great to have you here because we don't often get a chance to sit with someone that is essentially like new in the game, new in the salmon game. Although you're an experienced and accomplished angler outside of salmon fishing, within the first year of you doing this, you've already did quite a bit and have been very successful. And I think that's what I wanted to focus on for this podcast, especially because we see so many new people coming in to salmon fishing that are coming from the walleye world, the bass world, multi-species fishing that are learning and discovering about the fantastic fishery we have here for salmon and trout on Lake Michigan. And they have a small boat, which is what you have. And, I just thought it'd be a great to have you in here to talk about that. And so first things first, introduce yourself, let people know a little bit about your fishing background.
Yeah. So Dave Johnson. I run a small boat, a 21-foot crestliner. Primarily fish the chain O lake systems and other, small lakes within Wisconsin. Primarily going for, either panfish, being primarily crappies, or even walleyes too, quite frequently. Started like Mike had mentioned with the salmon last year, and just took off with it. It's been a blast.
And what made you decide to jump into it? Because I think your stories mirrors what many people how they decide to get into it.
Yeah, well, it's something I always wanted to try, but I always felt my boat was too small to do it, even with a 21-foot boat. And I went out with my buddy Dennis in his boat, and it's like he has a 17-foot, 18-foot boat, and it felt really comfortable, So it took for a buddy of mine to say, no, you can do it in a smaller boat. And you can catch just as many fish, if not more fish, than anyone in a big boat, So, it just took a buddy that took me out on his boat, and I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And frankly, just the scream of that drag is uncomparable to any other type of fish, and I don't care what kind of fish it is on Lake Michigan. Of course, kings are gonna be the through and true, for how they're going to be really screaming, but it's incomparable to any other type of fishing.
Yeah, no. Once I got into the salmon world, I stopped bass fishing. It's like, how do you go from even a 10-pound brown or a steely or something?
Yeah.
It's a hell of a fight. Watch a Skimania go airborne and 6-pounder, and it's like, 2-pound Illinois bass. Typically, I stopped fishing for them, and I think that's part of the draw, which is. One, I think that a lot of people are kind of getting tired, if we're being honest here, a lot of people are getting tired of dealing with the inland lake kind of politics / secrecy / drama that happens. We see it on the Facebook groups and, people attacking each other and all this stuff. And I think people are kind of tired of that stuff, especially people that are trying to get into the sport. And there's a lot of gatekeeping that happens. And what's unique about our salmon fishing here, and I don't know if this is lake-wide or even Great Lakes-wide, but in our area for sure, is people are really forthcoming with networking and sharing information and helping people out.
Yeah, that's a big thing. When you're fishing on inland lakes, whether it's the Fox River system or any other lake, people hold tips and tricks and things that can help you directly to their heart, which is fine. It is what it is. You know what I mean? You can figure it out if you're a good angler, you're using your electronics or whatever.
Yeah, but ultimately, you put in the time, you can figure it out.
Ultimately, you put in the time, you can figure it out.
Get a little.
And the thing is even once you figure it out, it's like, okay, well, then it's all of the other anglers saying, well, that's my spot or this is my spot. Well, you don't pay taxes on the lake, but I might be, so. But when you come over to salmon, it was completely night and day. You got everyone with welcoming arms that's willing to give you so much information so that you can go out and try it, because someone can give you the exact coordinates of where they caught fish, how they caught it, the bait, speeds, direction, whatever. Well, unfortunately, Mother Nature decides to do what she wants every single day, and you still got to figure out the speed, the bait, and direction. But at least you get a general synopsis on things to try.
Yeah.
So I do go out a lot by myself because I feel like I like to make mistakes by myself. So that's probably one of the biggest reasons for me, at least, why I learn so much so fast is, you make certain mistakes and you're like, well, I probably shouldn't be doing this or doing that. So, but just building a network has probably been the best thing.
Yeah.
And because people are just willing to share information, and you got to share it back too. The first time I went out, I reached out to Rob this year and shared my fishing report. I put it on the Winthrop Harbor Waukegan Facebook group, and I think it helps everyone to know that, hey, you can catch these fish out early. The cohos aren't quite in yet, but if you want to go out and have some fun, this is where I did it and this is how I did it.
Yeah. That's definitely a big impact, and that has been something that Rob and I, when we get someone brand new, and already this year we've done.
There's a lot of new people jumping into it.
Quite a few people we've already done full setups for.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, hopefully by the time we get this podcast up, we'll have like Rob and I talked about putting together offering a starter pack.
Starter packs for rods and reels.
Just an all-in one fee, and you get the starting 6 lineup, and then we'll do that'll be like the starter pack, and then we'll do one for like coppers, and have that stuff, and it's just make it very easy for you to get all that stuff, because a lot of people don't know and they're overthinking, and it's like, hey, dude, this is all you need. We've set him up with it. We set countless people up, and it helps to not break the bank too much. But get you the right stuff, so you're not having to rebuy things. That's what really counts.
So what I'll say is, salmon fishing is probably the most expensive fishing that I've ever done. It's going to be the most expensive fishing that you're ever going to do.
Until you go saltwater. Until you go saltwater,
right? But what I will say is, don't be like me where, I came in, I think briefly talked to Rob, or I hadn't talked to Rob yet. I think Dennis sent me over here, but I hadn't talked to him yet. Talked to you yet either, I think. Mm-hmm. And you go out and you think you know what you're buying, and you're buying the right stuff for whatever it may be. And here I am calling Rob after I've purchased the right stuff from him, and now you got to find a way to return all this stuff. And I'm asking you for boxes that rods came in so I can send rods back, because I threw my own boxes away. So that's what you don't want to do, is go out and think that you know what you need.
Yeah.
And then you get stuck with a bunch of stuff you're trying to resell or send back.
It's one of those things, like, I hate when it happens because I feel bad telling somebody like none of this stuff's gonna work.
Yeah.
Like they were excited, they're excited to get into it. They've got all this tackle. They're excited about their new tackle, and then I have to kind of like burst their bubble, like, a copper doesn't go on a spinning rod. Right. And
that wasn't me.
But it has happened. That has happened, and I feel bad about it. But I also want them to be doing things the right way. And have success, and so they can't run that copper on that spinning rod.
And I think the biggest thing, and I sent a few buddies to you guys recently that want to get into it, and I think the one thing that people should feel that have a small boat and they want to come out and do it is, if you're a walleye angler, for one, all of your walleye gear practically transitions over to spring fishing for
spring, fall, and open water winter.
Spring, fall, exactly. Open water winter for Lake Michigan. For trout and salmon, and the biggest thing is come and talk to these guys. Because they're not going to sell you things that won't catch fish. I think sometimes you can go places and they're just going to sell you a bunch of stuff. Because you're happy-go-lucky and you want to buy it. But, when it's springtime, what I liked is that you guys literally just sold me the bare minimum that I need to go out and catch spring fish.
Yeah, because you wanted to buy more, and we're like, we'll take your money, but
that's what I like too.
You don't need to buy that right now.
That's what I like too.
You're like, really? And you were kind of shocked that we were telling you not to buy stuff.
Exactly. So that's what I'm getting to, is that they're not. You guys aren't going to sell people things that they don't need. And don't get me wrong, if someone's just like, let me get it, or I want this, or I heard about this, like, well, it like Rob's favorite word, it catches fish. Because it does. Everything catches fish somewhere in a certain day, but you don't need it. But hey, this is what you need. This is where you're going to go with it. Start with your 3 colors, maybe. Maybe jump up to a 5. Don't necessarily need any downriggers when you come in. Save a ton of cash and just use dipsy divers. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's what I did, and frankly, you can get it done with dipsy divers just as you can with
the dipsies are the most important rods on the boat.
Yeah, and it's an inexpensive way to get down at depths and manage your depth. It's a very, very inexpensive way to do so.
Yeah.
So,
let me say this, or let me ask you this rather, just for context here, with your boat. can you describe kind of like the layout and how you're running things?
Yeah. So before you purchase anything, I think it is good to go out on other people's boats.
Yeah.
Just get an idea how they're running things, how comfortable it feels. Get an idea, okay, well, how many people can my boat fit comfortably? And, would I actually want to run that many people? Maybe, maybe not. But, if I were to, how can I set my gear up? So for me, the first thing that I bought is the triple trees from Magnum Metals. I ended up actually getting quadruples, so I got the 4s because I know eventually I wanted to get the downriggers, which had 2 poles on them, 2 rod holders on them, so I can use one for Dipsy and one for the rigger itself. So it gave me a 12 rod spread system if I wanted to run 12 rods. But I typically do sometimes when I take my kid and his friends out, just to get some activity going. But how I run it is I have my trees, of course, on the sides. Then I have my downriggers in the back, of course, and I can run a 12 rod system from the rigger, one to the Dipsy, then, which is my inside Dipsy, outside Dipsy, and then it goes up from there with my boards. Mm-hmm. And that's typically how we'll run it, I think on any given day, I think 6 rods is more than enough. 8 rods is probably perfect. 8, 9 is just more than enough to deal with. But I think, on days where less is more, I felt like when we were just running 6 and we figure out what the fish want, whether it's a long line, a short line, meaning, a little bit closer to the boat or whatnot. That's what's been working on a small boat. And, one thing you have to mention too is that, rods are going to pull differently from a small boat versus a big boat too. It's the weight. It's how that boat's handling the waves. Yeah. The current, whatever it may be. So you just got to figure out what works for your boat. But, it all works on a given day. You just got to go out and try it and figure it out. But I think on a small boat, the great thing is that, you got process of elimination like you do with any other boat. But more importantly, you can fish a lot of those shallower waters, a little bit more stealth, when it comes to spring, fall, open water, winter fishing.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't have as big of a boat stirring up things and possibly spooking fish in the shallows. And it is a great point too that so a lot of times less is more. And you can quickly, while you're capable of running however many rods max, right? Sometimes that's not always the most productive.
Not at all.
Especially when you got currents and there's more boat traffic, it becomes more of a hassle, and it actually takes away from your effectiveness. Sometimes it's better strip it off and just run with a rigger.
Yeah, if you're spending all your time fixing lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if it's just because you're getting in, especially like walleye fishing, right? And you're getting into weeds. Yeah. So all you're doing is pulling rods and pulling weeds off. You're probably better off using less. And
walleye. I could have me and 2 other guys on the boat. We may only fish 4 rods.
Right.
So it's just we only got to worry about 2. We get the right presentation, right depth.
Yeah, and the reality is that if you're running 12 rods, how many of them are really in
producing?
Yeah, how many are in the right spot for the fish?
Yeah,
you probably have 4 of them that are too shallow or too deep or something.
And I think you know that pretty quick once you get those first couple of rods to go. It helps to hone you in. Like, okay, the Dipsy, the low Dipsy went and the rigger went, but the high lines are real quiet. So maybe we should adjust and throw another something a little bit deeper or something.
Yeah. So one thing that I'll do too is I keep a whiteboard. On the whiteboard, I'll have port and starboard. And then I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Before I even come out, I've already decided what I want to run and where I want to run it. I'll have it already set up either, on the boat, in the truck, whatever it may be. So that another thing with a small boat is, how you store your rods is kind of the way you're pulling your rods is what you want to put in the water first. So one of the easiest rods to put in first are, you can have your Dipsy slow dragging out on both sides, and then you can start putting your riggers down. So the Dipsies should probably be on top so you can get those going.
Yep.
And then you'll put your riggers out. So that's a big thing that's helped with the small boat too, because your storage is limited.
Yep. Yep. So stacking them back up opposite of the order.
Them the way that you want to.
Yeah. So the top rods are gonna be the ones that go out first and work your way out to your board lines on the bottom, and then pull them in the opposite.
Yeah.
What would you say has been in your first year salmon fishing last year? What would you say was your kind of your biggest challenge, learning curve for you?
I I mean, you look here and you got a lot of different flashes and a lot of different.
We'll get
spoons.
into those. Yeah, we'll get into those.
So I think oftentimes that's probably one of the biggest challenges is knowing what to put out and when to put it out. You know, paying attention to the stain in the water, paying attention to the amount of sunlight that's out, whether or not it needs to have a flash. And even a bigger piece, which I think is ongoing for even seasoned anglers, is current.
Yeah.
You know, there have been days where, you know, I could only have 6 rods out, you know, and maybe I'm running 2 dipsies on both sides and, 2 riggers back, you know. And the reality of it is I can only run 1 dipsy on the side because the current is pushing one side of the boat too far over. And unless you turn directions and you figure out which direction is going to, you know, make them all run the right way.
Right.
That's been a struggle somewhat. It's just understanding the current. And I did end up getting a fish hawk system, which helps. It helps, but I think the biggest help on the water is looking at how your rods are running. Mm-hmm. You know, if it has that same cadence on both sides with the dip and the drag to it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So you since you mentioned the setups and all that stuff, let's run down some of your. What were some of your best performing setups here? I guess we could start with the flash setups.
Yeah.
And you know, what is it? What rod did it go on?
Yeah.
How'd you fish it?
Okay. So most of the flasher flies I would have on dipsy. Sometimes I run them on a downrigger, not typically on a long line. But you know, here's just a white crush spin doctor. This was typically ran on a dipsy. This is something that Mike drilled in me for a very long time. That he was like, "Dude, you got to put the white out. You got to put the white out." I'm like, "No, it's plain."
That's the only one I've ever heard him talk about.
But you know what?
Here's the thing, though.
But
I fought him
2 years straight.
I fought him so much.
There's one problem with that, though. I'll tell you in a second. Go ahead.
But because it doesn't have the
black beads.
Yeah.
Gotta have black beads.
Yeah. So, so I mean, this is fine too. But so is the regular flasher white. I mean, I think it performs equally well, in my opinion. But anywho, I started to put this thing. I think I put it out when you weren't on the boat because I don't want you to see me.
What a hater! What a hater!
I put it out when you weren't on the boat.
Because they're having around like he's
I'm like whatever. You run your side, I run my side.
Yeah.
Man, I put this thing out when he wasn't on the boat and it was lights out. It was lights out, man. Something so simple and basic. It was it was phenomenal. And you know, for a flasher that worked at night when it was coming up, when the sun was coming up, this is one that actually worked. Yeah. You know, because it flashed well and it glowed well, I should say.
Yeah.
Another really good one, you know, that whether it was, you know, before the sunlight came out or whatever it may be, was this Icon. Icon from, I think it's Salmon Candy.
Yep.
And the thing about this is it caught big kings, but it would also catch some enormous cohos.
Show the camera.
Yep.
You just hold it there.
The Icon. I actually just purchased their new Icon. They have a white one that they just dropped. That I'm really interested to get that one, a white one, right? Another white flasher. Mm-hmm. I went from having no white flashes, and I got like 13 or 15 white, you know, different different scenarios. But you know, amongst any of the flashes, you know, I would typically run Bullfrog, Fromunda cheese has been a good one, or this Illumination from Salmon Candy too. Between those three, and it's a win all the way. Specifically, if you're going to run a flasher at night or you know before daybreak. You know, I wanted something with some glow to it, so I would run a Fromunda if I was running a flasher. Yeah. And this is just the NBK. NBK is a really good one that did really well for me. I think it has a Fromunda or, you know, it's Illumination on there, I believe. So that's always been a very good one. Dragon Slayers are through and true. I mean, the regular Dragon Slayer is in my boat, but this one was out. But this is a blue Dragon Slayer. Frankly, blue or the regular one did well. When the regular one, you know, Dragon Slayer wasn't doing well, the blue one did extremely well. It was like one or the other.
Yeah, usually the green one's better, like more consistent, I should say. But that blue one caught our biggest fish last year.
Yeah, and what I will say, the blue is going to be, if it's on, it's on. If it's off, it's off. If it's off, pull it, throw a green one on, and you should be good to go to catch some fish. But
it seems like, from what I hear anyway, it seems like the blues on the Michigan side, they tend to lean on those a lot more. Sounds like. Yeah. So you know, maybe it's the watercolor differences. What we have,
it could be, man. I don't know.
Some days it hits here, and most times you know may not. But that's pretty interesting, though.
Yeah. So yeah, and I think this is the the
Songans.
Songans or
Songen's Bam.
Yeah, Songen's Bam by Salmon Canyon. This has been a phenomenal flash, and I think there's even other companies coming out with like a white front, black, green back, and different stuff.
Yep.
And the black one works good too. I have a black one. The black one is straight up all black.
Guess which one I like?
The white one.
The white one.
They make it in 11-inch as well, and it was really good.
Oh wow, I didn't know they made it in 11-inch. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And we just discovered it last year once we had we started carrying them, and I was like, all right, Rob, let's grab I grabbed Lucky Charms, I grabbed the white Songans.
Yeah.
And
Lucky Charms did well for us too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think
It did
that's a sleeper.
extremely
That's
well.
a sleeper. I like that one a lot.
Yeah. Lucky Charms. It did.
Yeah, right, when I looked at it, I was like, Rob, what the hell is this? He's like, oh, that's like based off of old school pattern.
Mystery Dodger right there. I mean, that's like what we all called it for years, but it's really like the old glow green tiger or whatever from Lure Jensen. And around here it was called Mystery Dodger, and up north it was called Lucky Charm.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's a good one too.
Nice.
All right, spoons.
Yeah, spoons. I mean, through and true. You got your Wonder Bread. I think one of the first classes I came to may have been Caleb or someone, and he mentioned it.
Sounds about right. It's Liz on his rods.
So I tried it, and frankly, that's another one that can be on and off, in my opinion. I feel like when I'm fishing deeper, it does better. I catch just about any and everything on it. Not so much when I'm fishing closer in, to be honest with you. I've had more success when I'm 200 plus. Mm-hmm. And then we have the bloody nose. I mean, that's just through and true. Fucking.
Oh, you managed to hook the table.
Yeah, well, bloody nose, it's right here. Everyone knows the bloody nose. And then we have, come on now.
You can grab them from the,
Right.
there you go. You're going to keep hooking the table.
Yeah, right? Flounder pounder. Blue flounder is always good too. These are mags, but I ran them all. It didn't really matter. Carbon 14.
No, that's raspberry carbon.
Raspberry carbon, my apologies. Raspberry carbon, which was, this was great. Day, night, whatever it may be. It was one of the first ones I bought. I didn't put it out there a lot until everyone was talking about it. But, this one was good, but blue carbon was really good too.
And that's one a lot of people don't use.
They don't use blue carbon was really good. Just like, when we were on Salmon-a-Ram and I was using that Blue Night. And you're like, man, Blue Night, it just kept catching fish. He's like, I've yet to use it. Like
I don't know something about that pattern. I hate it. I just don't like that blue pattern, that night pattern.
Well, I like whatever they're biting.
I get it. I can give them the bite on other stuff, though.
I mean, we caught so many fish. And I think we used it as a slider, too.
Probably.
And it was just catching fish like crazy.
Yeah. And you know what? That raspberry carbon, I think that might be the most, I won't say controversial, but that might be the most debated about or talked about spoon, I think, in terms of
some people hate it just because that's all they hear about.
Yeah. Like there's always some level of you talk about raspberry carbon, there's always going to be it's really split in the community about love it or hate it. There's no real middle. It's I hate it or I love it. Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is I ran the raspberry carbon spoon during King Week when everyone's running reef runners. And I run it on a downrigger in the harbor.
Were you? It took fish?
Yes, and it caught a king that I checked in. Yeah. So hey, it is what it is.
It took fish. That's all that matters.
I'll try it. I'll try it for at least 20 minutes or so. And this has been probably our number one spoon. I think when we were doing Salmon-a-Rama, it just did phenomenal. Yeah. We caught so many fish on this spoon. At the boat, it broke off with one of our biggest fish that could have done a lot for us, with this one too. So phenomenal spoon.
And that's basically the bad toad.
Yeah, bad toad.
Which bad toad in general, there's a few brands that make a version of it, but that colorway was just one of the standouts for sure.
Yeah, it was. It was good. I think anything with spots did really well all year.
Black. It was black for sure. A lot of black on stuff, which is why I think the raspberry carbon. Hell, there were days that we put on the carbon 14, which is just all black with the white glow dot.
That was good too.
That's as boring as it looks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
That thing was smoke first thing in the morning.
I want to say they're big on that on the Michigan side too. That carbon 14.
I know raspberry carbon for sure. I'm not sure about the carbon 14. But,
I think that's originally where I heard about it.
Yeah,
I was watching one of their podcasts or something.
Yeah,
and
we should probably do like a maybe not even a podcast, but just like a video where we talk about some sleeper spoons. I think that'd be a good idea.
Yeah,
there's a lot of spoons that people don't that fly kind of under the radar, but are really good.
Yeah.
So let's do that. I think you guys will like that video. Give us a chance to highlight some other stuff.
Yeah.
Here we are, 2024. Well, before I even talk about this year's fishing, what was your recap for 2023? How did it go for you? What did you think about the fishery?
We're spoiled, man. We're spoiled where we live. We got an awesome Fox River system when things are too jumpy and too wavy, and we have a phenomenal fishery on Lake Michigan right here. I think it went extremely well for me, but the reality of it is I think it went well for just about everyone that was out there last year too. If you were putting in work, putting in time, I think it was just a good year for everyone.
Yeah, it was the perfect year to get started if you never fished for salmon.
Yeah.
Like there were a ton of fish, there were a ton of kings. It was kind of hard to screw up.
Yeah. I think one thing that I've done that helped me a lot from last year going into this year is keeping track of what you're using. Mm-hmm. Knowing how many fish you're catching on certain baits, what rods, what depths, etc. What depth were you in? What depth were you fishing? Time of the year. I think that's something that helped me a lot that will transition into this year, just understanding trends. Because then you have a much faster pace of process of elimination when you're on the water. Because the guys that can only fish on the weekend, it may only be the weekend, but if you got to get back to your wife, then you only have a half a day, or maybe it's a second half of the day. So to get the best use of your time is, I think, writing down everything of what you're using, how you're using it, so that you have a quick process of elimination to get on the fish and stay on the fish.
Yeah.
So that's from what I've learned, but also what I'm going into for 2024.
Yeah. I don't think I created myself like this very intricate formula-driven
of course you did.
Spreadsheet, right? So I log. But I can't tell you how useful it's been.
Yeah.
Like it really has been extremely useful, because then you start to notice trends within the data. For example, one trend I noticed was that in one particular month there were spoons were just doing a lot better than everything else. And then you start within that certain colors started to kind of So when you really look at that stuff, you can really create your own kind of a system. Now, it's kind of like in the weeds of it all, but I think it's kind of cool to do something like that. It just helps inform you more on like kind of patterns that you can pick up and stuff like that. It's really, really cool. So now in 2024, what are you thinking about going into this year as far as fishing wise? What's, for example, something new you're looking to try that maybe you haven't done last year for your first year salmon fishing? Are there different areas you're going to try and focus on? Kind of what's your thoughts and strategies going into this year?
Yeah, so I didn't.
Year two as a salmon angler,
right? Year two, right? So I didn't do a lot of traveling.
Okay.
I want to do a little bit more traveling, going up north. When you hear about a bite, I was really just trying to get comfortable.
Yeah.
With running my boat, how it's going to perform in the water, how I want to operate it. Why is this bait biting at this time and day and depth, and thermocline, just understanding the basics of understanding what you're running, just angling. So this year definitely want to do a little bit more traveling, going up north, catch you guys on your day off on a Wednesday or something, and maybe we can shoot up and get a quick bite and come on home, or make a day out of it. Who knows?
I like that idea. So it's especially because then it gives us something to film.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
document that, because that's one thing we didn't get to do last year, but I know we're talking about we're going to really make a better effort to try and get to some of these other areas just to document the experience and kind of shine more light on a little bit more broader areas where our guys from our area will travel to Sturgeon Bay or
Ludington.
Making that drive across. Like we're going to talk with Dylan. Yeah, we're looking. You already extended the invite to just come over there. He spends a month there in August.
Nice.
So we're hoping to go across the lake and spend 2 days or something like that, and get to experience that staging time frame for their kings and document it all.
Heck yeah.
So that'd be really, really cool.
I'm game for that too, and even just like you said, going on the opposite side of the lake.
Yeah.
It's only a 4-hour, 3-hour hike at times.
Yep.
So why not? Why not try it?
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, especially because as we were talking with some of these other guys that have been fishing over there, they have I guess it's safe to say they have a much more robust fishing community So like I was hearing stories of guys coming out of, I don't know, Ludington or Manistee or whatever, and there's like an armada of like 100+ boats all coming down the channel. And one of my buddies, kayak fish, Will, he was on the podcast. He went over there in his kayak to fish the fall period and like that August, early September period. And, he's working out from the mouth and stuff like that. He's like, he could barely troll because it was just nonstop boats.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting to see how different, or hear about, and I think we need to kind of see that. How much more different it is over there with the amount of people that are going out for their salmon fishing and how they're going about it. It'd be really cool. One other thing which is pretty cool, I guess we should talk about too, is that you really went head in on this. Not only did you kind of just start, but I mean, you were jumping in on tournaments as well.
Oh, yeah.
So from the new salmon angler experience, for someone that is getting into this, lay out your experiences with some of the tournaments you participated in, the pros and cons.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've always even fished for walleye and things like that for fun with friends and things of that nature in the Fox. But, and I've even had a few buddies say, come on to a Wednesday night tournament or Friday night tournament, I'm sorry. And I don't know, it's just I don't care for the politics out there, right? And the camaraderie was just entirely different. And when you're in this salmon trout community, it's a lot of love in the air, frankly. It's just a lot of people trying to help other people. And you start feeling a lot more confident in what you're doing and where you're doing it and why. And I feel like, in a tournament on Lake Michigan, I feel like it's just you feel comfortable because it's much more of an even playing field. The fish are going to change. Fish aren't just always stacked up in a certain spot, maybe for a day or two, if you heard of something. You know what I mean? But I just felt good about it. Felt good about, how I'm running my rods, how I'm running my baits. And it felt good, So that's why I did it. And it was cool that I think even with the big pond brawl, I want to say, Dennis and I and his son, we got like middle of the pack. For our first tournament. Yeah, we didn't win or nothing, but out of, 50 people or something like that, or 50 some odd people.
Yeah, 54 boats.
Yeah, and I want to say we were like 30 or maybe less, So I thought that was pretty good.
Absolutely.
Winning would have been great, but to be first year angler and you're still in the middle of the pack, and we came out with our own plan, many people stayed, 70, 80, 90, 100. We shot out, we did our thing. And came back in. So it was fun. It was fun to just do what we felt was best based upon what we knew versus, just following the pack.
Yeah. And I think the networking part of it too,
Absolutely.
After that, getting everybody together and you're exchanging info, what you did, what worked, what didn't work, all helps.
Absolutely.
So now, again, coming into this year, you mentioned traveling, you looking to dive deeper into the tournament side of things?
Absolutely.
I know you joined the team and you're going to be fishing with some folks that we know.
Yeah, I was recruited over the winter to join a team, and we're definitely going to have a lot of fun. And we have a lot of tournaments lined up. So, we're diving head first.
Yeah. I need to be on that boat because all type A personalities are going to be on there. It's going to be when it's tough fishing. I want to document that.
Yeah,
I gotta hear the.
We're all type A for sure.
The grumblings of why you using that lure? Leave me alone. It'll be fun. But I mean, it's just that competitive nature, and
it's all the same, end goal in mind, right?
Yeah.
To win, to try. And I think one good thing about, the dynamics of what we're hoping to develop with that team is no one's scared to change baits, change directions, pick up, move. It's aggressive. It's aggressive fishing.
You guys are definitely aggressive.
We're not laying back. We're like, it's pretty aggressive fishing.
Yeah, that makes a difference.
Yeah.
Any thoughts, Rob?
No, I think I was just going to say the aggressive fishing is just a more fun way to do it.
Yeah.
Like to be passive out there, if it's not happening, it gets kind of boring.
Yeah, I agree.
And it helps when you're fishing with other aggressive people because you could be aggressive, and if you're fishing with two other people that are more passive, for one, there's going to be a lot of
these side eyes. They're going to be like
side eyes, right? But more importantly, it kind of brings you down too, and now everyone's passive or something.
Yeah.
Or it can go the other direction where you entice them to be a little bit more aggressive. But it can go. It's good to have that type A, Let's have a few arguments and catch fish.
Share some tips for the new guy that's going to get started into it this year. In fact, you were kind enough to refer a buddy of yours. We actually set him up with his whole starting 6 rods recently, last weekend. And so, what did you share with him that you could share with some of the folks that are watching that are going to get into this year?
If you have walleye gear, put it to use out on the big lake. Don't go out just buying a bunch of stuff because you think it with your own perceptions on whether or not lead core works for this or lead core works for that. I know walleye guys will use lead core for their scenarios on the river. It's used entirely different on the big lake, and it works extremely well. But I would say you have your stuff, but come and speak to the guys here. It's one thing to think you know everything in another industry, but come over and ask your questions. No question is a dumb question. I would say that because the questions I ask, from day one till now, be naive, to come in and learn, and have Lake Michigan anglers set you up with the right stuff versus just going to buy a bunch of stuff. Like you may only buy 5 spoons, but those 5 spoons are going to catch fish. You may only buy a few flasher flies, but at least they're through and true. They're going to catch fish.
Right.
And I think the biggest thing is, if you weren't much of a people person, become a people person and start networking a lot, because it's different from any other fishery where there isn't really a whole lot of networking amongst just maybe a group of 5 or 6 that, have been fishing with one another for a lot of years. So you got a group of thousands, on this side, on that side of the pond, and network, there isn't anyone that's not going to share information with you. So I think networking is probably like the biggest thing that you can do. You network with a guy and they just went out, right? Or they're like, hey, why don't you come out with me? I'm by myself.
That happens a lot. A lot of guys will go in those
by
groups.
Myself. Yeah. Me and Gary went out, what was it, 2 or 3 weeks ago? Yeah. And we've always seen one another at the launch and exchanged numbers, and we finally had an opportunity to get out with one another, So I think you meet great friends, family, that become family, and just networking, man. You gotta network. Networking is probably the most important thing as a new angler, and frankly, as a seasoned angler too, because you just never stop learning.
Yeah. And these fish are moving around over the place, so it helps to kind of, especially for the guy that's just gonna do this on the weekend. There's a lot that went down during the week with the weather, the winds, the waves, the water clarity, seasonal migration. So it helps to have some folks that may have dabbled over the weekday that can relay some, I found some fish here, on the Tuesday. Then by Friday, buddy went out and he said he found some fish over here. Yeah. It gives you 2 kind of working places to check out to start. And then you, on the water, are going to have to make your adjustments and make some choices there. And
the biggest thing, too, you got to pick your days safely. I'm one guy, I wear my PFW. I wear it all the time. But you got to pick your days. I use the Weather Channel app. I try to look at how much wind we're going to have, what's the mile per hour there. But then I also use, I think it's a Wind Finder app, which is, it tells you the depth of the waves that should be there, or not. And if you see that you had a lot of consistent days of 3, 4 footers, 5 footers, whatever it may be, you probably don't want to fish on that last day because it's really murky, it's really muddy. Yeah, it may be
current.
It may be a lot of current still rolling. It may be somewhat flat out there, but it really ain't.
No, because it's under the water.
Under the water.
Under the water,
going bananas.
It's still crazy.
You're going to see a mud line that is ridiculous. You may have to go even further out the fish past it. The fish are still within where that mud is, but you ain't really going to catch them because they can't see your bait. Yep. So you got to fish the mud line. So you'll catch fish, but you won't.
It's just tougher.
It's just tough. You really have to look at networking is big, and you have to look at. Utilize your apps for understanding wind direction too. When we're fishing warmer water, and we've had west winds to come in and pull some more cold water, whichever direction the wind is coming from. We want to know wind direction too. Yeah. So just pay attention to different things.
All very important stuff. Man, Dave, it's really cool to see kind of like your journey, with Rob and I kind of being here at the very beginning of it, and many others too. And I'm sure hopefully it'll continue as more people kind of dive into it, and we were able to help get them started, and then to just see their progression and their level of involvement and and diving even deeper by to me, I think by the time you get to tournaments, you're knee deep in it. Like there's no turning back. Like
you're having fun.
You've made a commitment. Yeah.
And the tournaments aren't real expensive either. But the payout that you guys had for the big pond brawl, you'd be full not to at least try.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that surprised a lot of people.
Yeah. It did. And I think by the time we release this episode, we should have all the big pond brawl announcement stuff out there. So if it is, I'll link to it down below for you guys to check it all out. It's a great opportunity for small boat anglers to get involved. Pick the days you can. We have 4 in this year, 4 dates. You can do one-offs if that's all you can do based on your schedule. And for those that have a team or want to get more competitive, there's also the series route. So there's actually 2 ways to win. You can win individual tourneys and then the overall. So it can be a really good time. And we're excited about it. And we'll have that info out for all y'all. So final thoughts, Rob?
No, looking forward to this spring. It's not too far away now.
No, I mean, I'll be shocked if we don't see Coho here. I mean, at the time of us sitting here doing this, it's the beginning of March. I mean, we're here on the 6th.
Yeah, we're here.
There should be a few around.
And
if the lake is a little churned up right now. So.
Yeah, it is. It is. We had north winds, so it's a little rough. But we're getting the right kind of weather in terms of like sunlight.
Consistent with it.
It's been.
If you look at the forecast, we had a hot spell, but it's starting to be right where it needs to be.
In that 50 range, or upper 40s and 50s and stuff. So I've been saying this, and I think this is going to be more and more true. But I think that we all need to start rethinking rethinking the migrational timeline, right? But it used to be May. Has always been historically.
May was always a sure thing. It's, April typically fish around, but a little bit, spotty. March is definitely, for cohos at least up here.
Yeah.
More often than not, there's not a lot around.
Yeah.
But last year they were here. The year before that, they weren't quite here until probably
early April.
Yeah.
But my point though is like we're starting to see like a March, April, depending on how the weather is, but like sooner than May.
I think there's like a couple things going on. You have different weather the last couple of years, and the other thing is I think we have more like resident cohos that are just sticking around. Because they did increase stocking, and so we have some fish that aren't doing that regular
run around.
They're just staying here. Yeah. And so we catch those first, and then by the time we kind of wipe them out, then the regular migrating cohos are actually here.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting how those fish decide the ones that stick around versus ones that just follow a herd, kind of a thing. Yeah, it's always very interesting. But
and I was actually talking to the owner of Gold Star making the stubbies the other day, and he was talking about how they also have the resident cohos that stick, like some like they're little ones you can catch all winter long. They just stick around.
Could it be that they're just smaller, so maybe it's safer for them to not nearly travel around for predation purposes? Maybe I don't know.
I think they're smaller because they're not following the alewives. Like when you get like smaller, at least for us. Now he's talking, they're West Coast fish.
Yeah, different.
But for our fish, sometimes you'll see 2 different like size groups of cohos.
Right.
And you have one size group that's just been eating bugs since they were stocked, and it's taken them longer to grow. Yeah. And then you have other ones that found alewives right away, and they've just been chasing those alewives the whole time they've been in the lake, and they're growing a lot faster.
Yeah.
And those are typically more the migrating ones, I think.
Because they're following the bait more.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's definitely a solid kind of theory there. But again, kind of capping the idea here, I think we all need to start rethinking May and start thinking should probably have things in order by early March at least, especially even a small boat. Like there's really no reason not to have.
And the nice thing about fishing that early is you don't have any charters out there to compete against.
Yeah.
So
you're getting first whack.
Now is the time to come and get your gear right. Yeah. For one, the gear is here.
Mm-hmm.
And you're in stock. You're beating the crowd, and you guys have time to actually get their stuff in and out same day possibly.
Yep.
So now is the time to kind of come and get your gear right. Respools, whatever it may be.
Especially because like right now a lot of the charters are doing their boat tweaks and stuff.
Yep.
Right. by the time they're getting ready to dunk in, they're coming in here and buying like 50 rods, 10 reels,
100 stubbies.
100 stubbies. I need 6 dozen of flies. And then you're like, where's your stuff at? Well, we just had like the charter fleet just come in and take everything.
Small boat guys, it's your time to shine.
Yeah, get in there early, man.
It really is. I'm just saying. It
really,
you know? And you get that one-on-one. Like you come in, they can still, you guys can still talk to them, and you can help them, and it is still one-on-one, right? But to be able to just come and like just lollygag around and really take some notes and really genuinely, understand what it's going to take for you to get into this type of fishing. Now is the time to come.
Yep.
You know.
Yep. And then take your boat and get in the water.
Just fish to catch. I mean, the water just needs to clear up a little bit, and you can definitely catch brown trout.
By Monday,
there's
you're
a few
good to go.
goes around. Yeah,
I've been already scoping it out. It's waves are getting down to I think 1 or 2 on Sunday. It's slowly getting down. Monday and Tuesday is good. It's go time. Mm-hmm. It should be cleared up.
Well, we should get out then. I still want to do a Laker video.
Yeah, he wants you to drive all the way to Chicago for it though. But
you could go to Racine to the reef.
We could do that too. Yeah,
do that. But Chicago's just a sure thing. It's like nonstop.
And they've got their piers in too in Racine. Racine and Kenosha, I think, have their piers in.
They got their piers in. Which is cool to see that the harbor's actually like realizing,
early. This is early for them too.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I think they looked out and they said that it's very unlikely we're going to get something bad enough to freeze over, which I think is their concern. They don't want the docks to get frozen in the water, damage them or stuff. So we're in the clear, man. So get out there, get fishing. Dave, final thoughts, words?
Hey, small boaters, let's go. It's go time. Now's the time. I wasn't saying that just to boost sales here or anything. That now's when you can. I joke with Rob when I walk in. I'm like, I get you all to myself. I learned so much though.
Yeah.
And I find something else that I've been looking for, and it's go time. It's early, but it's go time.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
It's definitely go time.
Yeah. So, Dave, thank you for joining us and sharing your experience here as a newer small boat angler here on Lake Michigan for salmon fishing. Hopefully, you guys found this video informative and entertaining, and a reason why if you've been on the fence about getting your small boat out there, if you're coming from one of the other kind of fishing niches or side of things, whatever species you normally target, and you're thinking about getting into salmon fishing, kind of had the experience right here. Almost knocked the water over, which would have been the third time.
They would have spilled on me, right?
Yeah. Hopefully get kind of a taste of like what it's like, and it's a great opportunity to switch things up. It's challenging. It's fun. It's very, very unique. You have a great resource right here in our own backyard that you can get out there and take advantage of. So check out the links down below for any gear you might need. Feel free to visit us at LakeMichiganAngler.com for any of the gear and stuff like that. Get it while we got it, because it will go fast once the season's in full swing. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.